Right. Good evening, good morning, good evening, again, afternoon, wherever you are. We are so grateful that you have been able to join us today for our webinar, courtesy of the Purpose-Led HR Network. And so today we want to explore a topic that we believe is close to your heart as a leader, whether you're in HR, whether you're in organizational leadership. And so we want to first do the housekeeping bit to say that this webinar is courtesy of the Purpose-Led HR Network, which is a group of like-minded HR practitioners from practice, from consultancy, where they have come together to challenge each other so that they can learn ideas that they can put into practice every day as they lead the organization to drive the purpose that those organizations have set for themselves. And so today we want to highlight two key partners that we are working with. And one of them is my global varsity. I'll put that link in the chat so that you're able to follow them and see what you can do together with them. They are basically a platform where you can do your e-learning courses. You can reach out to them together with the organization so that you can place some of your courses there for ease of access for staff. We also want to highlight a partner of the Purpose HR-led network, who is Inquest Consulting Limited. Inquest Research and Consulting Limited will be your one-stop shop for management consulting and issues of research, including engagement survey. I know they are brilliant in this area, so get in touch with them and I'll be giving you the link in the chat. And so today we do have two of the most brilliant people I know in matters engagement from practice. And I was keen to follow them because I know, like most of you, they have this tool in the place where they practice that measures engagement. And so we have been having engagements about, is measuring engagement the most important thing, or is it making sure that the people who we work with can get the support they need so that they can be engaged? And so first things first, my name is Geoffrey Gebenji. I'll be your moderator for this webinar, and I am joined by my two able friends. I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And so what is engagement? I know there are many answers to that question, but an interesting one that I found, and I know some of you might have met it, and I think it makes sense, is that engagement is the choice that your employees make every day about whether to give the organization 100% or not. That's simple, straightforward. It's a choice made by our employees every day, including you who is in this webinar. If you're working in HR or any part of the organization, you make that choice every day. And so one writer, Bob Nelson, in his book, 1,000 Ways of Engaging Employees, proposed 10 dimensions that he thought were very important in driving that high commitment so that employees can be able to make that choice. And he said that out of these 10, out of this dimension, I think that recognition is very important. He also cited career development. He also cited the immediate manager, the role that the immediate manager plays, strategy and mission, job content, then the relationship between employees and their senior management. And the list could go on and on and on. And this tells us that the topic is one that has priority for your CEO, for your managers, and for us in HR. And so there seems to be a great agreement that we need to be focusing on not measuring the engagement, but now changing the behaviors that can lead to strong culture of engagement. And I think that's very important because, again, the actions of the manager and the behaviors of the manager every day is something that can be skilled up. And so tonight, to help us around that topic, how can we upskill your frontliners or your people managers so that they are able to drive engagement? Is Chebet, Chesaina, and our friend Franco Gutu. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and I'll start with you, Chebet. Then we can go to you, Frank, and then we can pick it from there.
Thank you, Geoffrey. Good evening, or is it good morning from wherever you are? My name is Jabet, a HR practitioner with just about 20 years in the industry. I have special expertise in leadership, problem solving, analysis, training, coaching, and mentoring. I can actually say that I've even mentored quite a number of people on this group. I can see quite some of them here. That's my passion, basically. I work in an organization that has been measuring engagement. Before it was satisfaction, which is more of, how can I call it, more just checking if the people are happy. And then now we move to engagement, and we've been doing that every year, I think for the last almost 20 years. So I think you're in the right place. So sit back. If you have any questions, you can prepare them, and we'll be able to engage together. Thank you. Frank?
Thank you, Jabet. Please confirm that you can hear me clearly. Yeah, my name is Franco Gutu. I work with an NGO, but currently I work for a microfinance that is also associated with the NGO that I worked for previously. Most of the work that I do is in line with employee engagement, as well as HRIS, HR systems. I'm big on matters HR data, and as well as matters of reporting when it comes to human resource. You understand that today everything is decided based on data, and organizations are going big on data. So currently, I'm a HR data person, as well as systems and employee engagement. So you are in the right person, as Jabet has mentioned, and we believe that we'll be able to unpack this topic in a way that will create curiosity and will help us to improve on the way we engage the people that we serve. Thank you.
All right. So thank you for the introduction. And so the big question in the room tonight is, how can we upskill our managers so that their behaviors are behaviors that lead to high engagement in our teams? And I want to leave it to you, Frank. Take it from there.
Karo aliweka kwa groups fulani.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Maybe I will just request that as we proceed, we can mute our microphones so that it helps us to control the bandwidth and also the noise that may come as a result of that. I will share my screen with us. So this evening I will be using two screens. So if you see me looking another direction, I need to warn you in advance that I will be using two screens. So let me just share my screen now with you. And all right. Once you're able to see my screen, Geoffrey, please confirm that you can see my screen.
Very well, positive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So talking about matters engagement, the first thing that will come to our mind would be the definition of engagement, but we are not, because we are not in a classroom setup. I will try and make it as interactive and as simple as possible. Geoffrey has given us the surface introduction of what engagement would mean. And one of the basic engagement definition that I also want to bring to our attention would be two aspects: the enthusiasm as well as the dedication that employees put in the work that they do. So without dedication, there is no engagement. And engagement is arrived depending on how the employees feel at the workplace or about the work that they do. And engagement will go a long way to determine the performance of an employee. Engagement will go a long way to determine whether the employee will feel satisfied, whether they will stay in the organization or not. And research today indicates that if an employee is engaged today, it's not all about as a result of the paycheck. Gone are the days when employees put priority and a lot of weight on the money that is paid. I'm not saying that employees no longer want money, but engagement today is pegged on many other factors, not necessarily monetary. And this will include matters well-being of these employees, and they are all linked to performance and their success. So the basic definition that I would give, as I've just said, it's about the enthusiasm and the dedication that employee feels towards the job that they do. And where does engagement come from? What is it that drives employee engagement? And for me, engagement does not come from the blues. It has three aspects. The first aspect is the head. Engagement is not all about the work that the employee does, meeting deadlines and attending meetings, but it involves the head. Is the employee engaged mentally, or it is just doing the work for the purpose of achieving the goals that have been set by the manager or rather by the organization? So it's about it's psychological. It's about the concentration that the employee puts in the work that they do. The second aspect for me would be the heart. How does the employee feel? Do they have emotions? Are they emotionally engaged? So as I mentioned, it's not only about the work that they do, meeting deadlines or deliverables, but how do they feel about their work? What do they think about the work that they do? And the other aspect for me is now where many of us concentrate, which is the hand. And by the hand, I mean doing now the work, meeting deliverables and doing what they are expected to do on a day-to-day basis. So in the next few slides, what I want to try and bring to our attention is that what is it that leads to an employee that is fully engaged, and that is not only engaged on the hands, but an employee whose heart is in the work that they do, an employee who thinks work, not that they don't think other things, but they do their work wholeheartedly. And today, in our discussion today, the manager is at the center of achieving this kind of engagement. So what do you think about this manager? I know you may not have time to respond, but I know you have already visualized what kind of a manager this one, the one shown here is. You can see a manager who is very unhappy about maybe the people he works with. You can see a manager who is very angry, banging tables and raising his voice and shouting at the people who report to him or whom he works with, or even peers, those they are with in this in the same level. And so this is what I call the poor manager. And research shows that nearly 2/3 of employees today quit their job, not because of the organization, but because of the managers that they work with. And the interesting bit is that these managers do not pay the price, but the organizations wherein the employees work are the ones that pay the price. Let me give you a few findings that has been done. As you may be aware that today we are in what we call, we are experiencing that which is called, we are in part of what is called the Great Resignation. And the staff, especially after COVID, a lot of employees have been so anxious, people moving, there's been a lot of movement. And some of this movement is not because employees are being laid off, but employees are making their own decisions to do so. And research shows that the employees that are leaving the organizations, most of them are happy with the decisions that they are making. And if they are asked whether they would do so again, they say that it is the best decisions that they have made to quit their organizations. And they're saying that they are happy with the decisions that they made. And for a long time, managers have been accused of being the cause of this high turnover that is being experienced in different organizations. But there is no manager who willingly would want their organization to lose their valuable employees. And so managers are hired because they are good at what they are doing. And hardly is anyone hired because, especially first-time managers, they are not hired because they are good at managing, but they are hired because they are good at what they are doing. And as a result, when there is an opportunity, they are elevated to the position of a line manager. And sometimes when they get into these roles, you realize that they do not have the managerial skills that is needed. And as a result, the employees do not get to have the experience that they want to have. And we end up losing valuable employees. And research shows that replacing one key employee can cost an organization up to 250% the cost of that, what was spent to have that employee. So it is that expensive. So it is up to 250%, not only of the salary, but also benefits included. So you can see that organizations are paying ultimate price for losing their key employees as a result of poor management. And as I mentioned, not because the managers willfully want to let the employees go, but it's because they lack the necessary skills to engage those, to ensure that the employees that they manage are engaged. I want to try and move fast to allow time for my colleague also to come in. What does a good manager do then so that we are able to have employees engaged, not only in their hands, but engaged in the head, engaged in the heart, and engaged in their hands as well. So managers must be champions of recognition and rewards. As my colleague Geoffrey had mentioned this during his opening remarks, and many of you will agree with me that employees tend to be engaged. So I'll just give highlights of some of the things that good managers do so that they are able to ensure that the employees are engaged. And when you talk about recognition and reward, it's not only financial or monetary, but it includes other parts that would be low cost. Some are also non-cash. And the list of items that can be used to do this is endless. This would also would include financial, such as bonuses and salary increments for those who have been found to be doing well in whatever they are supposed to do. Another thing that managers whose employees are tend to be engaged and tend to stay in their roles, research shows that these managers have what we call words of affirmation. Whenever the employees do well, they tend to use words of affirmation. So they thank the employees for the work that is done, and they explain how the actions of those employees add value to their departments and to the organization at large. And this has to be specific so that employees understand why they're being thanked, or why the manager is using words of affirmation, and how that looks like in the bigger picture, how that adds to the organization. So these are some of the things that managers whose employees tend to be highly engaged, research have found that those are some of the things that they do. These managers are also great coaches. They have greater coaching skills. Allow me to bring in a little research that was recently done. It showed that by the year 2025, 75% of the workforce will be millennials, and also Generation Z would form part 75% of the workforce. And these are people who are very ambitious. They are not only looking for money as they have been labeled, but research shows that they need more than just money. They need to feel that they are accepted. They need to feel that they are valued, and they need a coach. They need someone who coaches them and inspires them to dream, and also to achieve the dreams that they have in their career. So the managers helps them to bring out the best in them. So coaching is one other thing that has been found to be an attribute of these good managers. And in a world where there is COVID, in a world where there are many things happening at the same time, emotional balance is very key. And so managers who are able to manage their own emotions, as well as those of the people that they manage, tend to have teams that are highly engaged, teams that are more productive compared to managers who are not able to have emotional balance and emotional intelligence. If you looked at the picture that I showed us about a bad manager, you could see that the manager is not having a good emotional balance. They're not able to control their emotions. And as a result, their staff are tense, they are stressed, and they are very restless. And at the end of the day, such anxious staff tend to leave. They are not engaged, and at the end of the day, they tend to leave the manager and not the organization. So emotional intelligence is something that is an attribute of good managers. And also, these managers inspire vision. They inspire accountability. They make their employees or the staff that they manage to see how their roles contribute to the strategy of the organization, and the employees feel that indeed they are part and parcel of the business. So the managers that tend to inspire vision and accountability are found to be leading teams that are highly engaged, and of course, in the process of managing the career of their staff, they give and receive feedback. Number of times, managers like to give feedback, which is not bad, both formal and informal, but it is also necessary for managers to receive feedback. Whenever, I know it is always not easy to receive feedback, especially upwards, when it comes from your subordinates. Sometimes it is not very easy giving feedback, and you know that the best feedback is that 360 degrees feedback, which is given by subordinates, given by peers, given by superiors in that order. So managers should good managers not only give feedback, but they also receive feedback and work on it. I know this is an area that many managers really need to work on. And also, these managers are change managers. They are able to communicate change in a way that influences and inspires the people that they manage. Change is something that really leads to the great resignation. There are many people who are just leaving, not because their roles are even affected, but they leave because they see others leaving. So whenever there is change, employees tend to be restless and they are not engaged. But when the good managers know how to manage change, and they know how to communicate during that time of change, so that employees are able to be engaged as an attribute of these good managers. And finally, my very last slide, so that I can allow time for Jebet, is how then do we work with managers what do we do in the event that we have first-time managers who have never led people reporting to them? Is there something that can be done so that those that are perceived to be bad managers in quote can be turned into what is called good managers? How can we give them this? How can we help them to get the skills that they require to lead teams that are highly engaged in the mind, in the heart, as well as in the hand? So the managers, number one, they can be trained to get the skills, the necessary skills that they need. And number one is that the first thing is that we need to train these managers need to be trained on people processes. A lot in the past, HR processes have been left for the people in the human resource department. But where we are today, in order to have engaged teams, the managers themselves must be able to be trained on recruitment. They must be trained on performance management. Managers need to be trained on talent management and all HR processes, so that HR remains the custodians, but the line managers becomes the owners of these processes. The other thing that can be done is that we need to sharpen the senses and also bring up the managers need to bring up their own nature. You know, sometimes managers fear being who they are, and as a result, they do not have a good connection with the teams that they lead. So at all times, line managers must be encouraged to be who they are, to bring out the best in them. And at that point is when they can also bring out the best in the staff that they manage. And some of these things can be done through capacity building and training, as I have also mentioned. So the managers must be encouraged as well to have genuine interest, you know, in the people that they manage. Good managers do not only are not only concerned with results and deliverables, but they are managers who tend to be concerned with even social issues of the people that they lead. You know, they are concerned about how the family of members of their staff are doing. The research shows that they tend to lead teams that are highly engaged. So these are some of the things that can be instilled in first-time managers and even managers who have been there but tend not to be doing well in the area of employee engagement. When this is done, higher return on investment research shows that will be achieved by the organizations involved. So I want to try and summarize this as such so that we can have time for the other panelists and question and answers as well. So thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you have been able to pick a thing or two. Thank you so much. Over to you. Allow me to bring in Jabet.
Thank you, Frank. Sorry, my camera is off. Yes. The next session, we do not have slides. So we just want to give experiences. And I give you a couple of points, I think about 5 points, key points that I've learned over the years when conducting engagement surveys. The first one is communication. I think all of us as managers can attest that without communication, it's basically a waste of time. So if we don't communicate to our teams what is expected of them, are they aware what is our company or our organization mission, our vision? What is the direction? Where are we heading to? What are our goals? So if the our team members are well aware of what is happening, then the chances of engagement increasing will be higher. So over the years, I've learned that you keep the channels of communication open. If it is, if you're using WhatsApp groups, emails, just being available to the team, then you find that the team are more engaged. Another one is when our employees or team members, if you like, leave the organization. Most of us conduct exit interviews. I hope we do that. So from there, we get to find out how was the experience, what can we change, and all that. But from where I sit, I prefer to do stay interviews, whereby we do them from time to time, just to find out where are we, what can we do, instead of waiting for the end to do a farewell, and then we realize, I wish I could have done this to be able to keep this talent. Yeah. Over the years, I think I've come to realize, forget about the textbook, is that recruitment is very expensive. Forget about even the cost in terms of money. Also, as a HR person, mentally, it is just too much. Just, can you imagine constantly doing recruiting? You're not concentrating on strategy and other things. Then you find that it is quite taxing. So stay interviews is something that can keep your team engaged. you can also be kept in check. Something else is be proactive on engagement. We, as managers, we find that we recruit employees, but we do not ensure that the positions that we are hiring are already well defined. We just hire somebody, and a few months down the line, you find somebody who was very enthusiastic during an interview resigns, and no particular explanation of what is happening. So you find that we did not structure his or her position properly. We did not ensure that he or she has what is required to be able to perform that job. So that to me, if be proactive on engagement, then that would really add to us. Another one is career pathing. When we hire, does this employee know how their career path would be, or what options are there for them? Because with as Frank has talked about, the Gen Z, people want to know, I'm in the hospitality industry, so if you hire somebody in a position of a waiter, so they would like to know, in the next 5 years, how can I grow, or how can you grow me to be an F&B manager, that is food and beverage manager. So if you are able to guide this employee and tell them, this is what you need, these are the trainings that you need, this is how you can equip yourself to be able to get to F&B, then the employee will be more and more engaged, other than just hiring somebody and expect them to serve tea, coffee, and they don't know what they're going to do after in terms of their career. So if you're more, if you work on their career path and keep checking on them on quarterly basis, preferably, give them a buddy or a mentor, depending on how you look at it, somebody who can work with them and keep checking on them. Then you find that they're able to grow and they're able to get more engaged, and you can find that there's some emotion attached to that job. Yeah. And then regarding Generation Z, Frank had talked about Generation Z. I'm very passionate about it because these are the people that I mentor. What I've realized that the team are so excited about is something that is short term. So how will you be able to tie these people to jobs? I was talking to a friend of mine, and then they told me that to them, they just want a gig. So I think we're heading towards gig economy. So they just want to do whatever, if it's the gig, just short term, and then they move to something else because they get bored very fast. So how are we going to keep them engaged to be able to stay on in the organization? So that means you have to keep it fresh, keep it fresh all the time for them to be able to enjoy what they're doing. Give them tasks, let them lead. Then you find that they are able to keep the job or stay on at least a little longer, because it's quite expensive to hire, as we've talked about. Geoffrey, do you want to step in now?
Thank you very much. We have a question here from Anne, and I think Anne is asking, what is the place of social intelligence when it comes to leading a team? What is the place of social intelligence when it comes to leading a team? And I think this has to do with the manager of the team. So something to think about, and I'll allow you to either Frank or Jebet to respond to that question. Richard, can you hear me? Just confirm you can hear me.
Yeah. I'm getting you very well. Initially, I wasn't getting you, but somehow I managed to get you. A very interesting engagement.
Yeah. And before I let you go, Richard, how do you define employee engagement in your context, in your organization, or in the community that you support every now and often?
I am a great advocate of engagement because engagement defines or determines or predicts how the bottom line is going to look like. If you have a large number of people engaged, that is total commitment, enthusiasm, the energy, their capabilities, capacities are aligned very well to the mission and the vision of the organization, you will discover that productivity increases, because if a person is not interested in what the organization is supposed to be doing in terms of its strategies, in terms of its goals, in terms of its targets, how will they be able to produce? How will they be able to be effective? How will they be able to be efficient? It means they are going through the motions. So engagement is very important. Actually, the larger parts of human resource functions is about to promote engagement, because motivation is engagement, commitment is engagement, alignment is engagement. If an organization is not able to hook the interests of the employee, either because the talent acquisition was not done very well, the organization is not going to be very functional. And it's good that you've directed the question to me, or the spotlight to me. My question is, I'm in so many HR groups, and I noticed that the level of engagement, I can wake up and imagine who is going to say something. It is about 10%, and 90% of the human resource practitioners are there quiet, and they call themselves sometimes silent followers. Does this, if we extrapolate this information, is it going to be what applies in the organization? Because recently I heard the chairman of Public Service Commission saying that the engagement level in Africa is the lowest. Could it be that is where the problem is, that human resource practitioners have not come out? Because of course, some of them say that I'm an introvert, I cannot champion engagement activities. So that is probably always my concern, that people don't like get engaged, and I'm trying to extrapolate that information. Will this apply in a work environment? If HR people who are supposed to champion and advocate for engagement are the ones who are not to say they're not intelligent, they are, but if you are intelligent and you're not able to bring your intelligence to the public, then it means it's not useful. So that is probably, I don't know what HR professionals should do so that they can be able to be at the forefront of initiating projects and activities and that bring out employees. Thank you.
Very good question. Thank you very much for your views. I also want to take note of a point here. Brenin, Elisha, are you in the call? I had seen that you strongly feel that there should be repercussions for manager who stifle employee engagement. Are you in the call, Elisha? Why do you?
Yes, Geoffrey, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm following the conversation. So for me, I'm also very keen about employee engagement. Having led some of the projects
sorry, Elisha,
employee engagement, some of the key learnings that I've taken is
okay.
Usually they are very critical employees who are engaged. So one of the things which I strongly advocate is we should have a consequence management where we identify those managers who stifle talent. There are also managers who maybe hold talent from being promoted and all that. And at the end of it all, it has a negative impact on employee engagement. So that is my input on it. There should be some consequence management to it. Otherwise, this employee engagement thing will be left to HR to manage, and you'll find that in an organization, we can't really pull it off as HR professionals alone without the help of managers, also without the help of the senior leadership team. I think an element of consequence management is key to drive the right culture and the right engagement at the organization. Maybe just a question, Geoffrey, if you may allow me, would be just to get to hear from either the panel or also from the members in terms of how they measure the employee engagement in the organization. Is there a specific matrix, because I mean, what I've used before is ENPS. So maybe I just want to learn from and hear from the others. And also related to that, I saw an article recently that Microsoft is no longer measuring employee engagement. They are now measuring what we call employee thriving. So I don't know if we are trying to catch up with the world, thinking that maybe looking at it from the future of work, are we, from an African perspective, is employee engagement still relevant, or we need to look at other metrics which can be able to tell, considering that now we have hybrid work structures within our organization. So thanks.
All right, thank you very much. A very interesting conversation. How is engagement going to look like in the African context? Before I allow Jebet and Frank to respond, I think I need to also ask the members to just type in, how do you measure employee engagement in your context? Feel free to drop your suggestion or what you do as a matter of practice in the chat so that we are able to also follow. Frank and Jebet, you can respond to the question.
What I can tell Brenin is that for us, we use something, I think for employee engagement, we use a company called Sirota. I think it's in the US that helps us do our engagement surveys.
Right.
I think that is where people are heading. Sorry, can you hear me?
Your internet was breaking, but now you're back.
I'm back, eh?
Yeah.
Start again.
Please do. Yeah, we lost you, Jebet.
Okay, what I'm saying is that for us, from where I currently work, we have been measuring engagement using a company called Sirota. It's in the US. Yeah, so sorry, I was losing my thought of, and then in the survey, we also have questions on Thrive. So I think that is where we are heading to from engagement. And I think especially for some industries, like for me who's in the service industry, I cannot work from
Your connection is breaking, Jebet. So
Jebet, we've lost you.
Jebet, we've lost
serving
you.
A client. Yeah, it's, I think, something we need back in. Okay, I guess maybe you can add in. What I was just saying is that we are heading towards thriving, but in Africa might be difficult because there's some industries that you cannot fully work from home. So we will continue with engagement, but we will have to monitor how we thrive.
Awesome.
Gabriel, Geoffrey, may I say something on that? And as an addition to NPS as a measure of customer engagement?
Go ahead.
Yeah, part of the ways of knowing that there is engagement is the rate at which absenteeism reduces. It is the rate at which you have accidents that have increased or reduced. It is productivity, because if you have a disengaged workforce, there is an element of lack of engagement. There is disengagement. That is why productivity and profitability are reducing. If you have a high rate of health problems or index, it means that there is a lot of disengagement. If you see so many absenteeism because of sickness, you will know, and we know some of those sicknesses are forgeries. If they reduce, you will know that engagement is increasing or reducing, depending on the level of the health index of the organization. So it is absenteeism, productivity, and the profitability of the organization are very good indicators of engagement. Over and above Net Promoter Score.
Awesome. And so these are things we need to bring to the attention of our managers so that they're able to interrogate some of the things that they see presenting at the workplace. I know time is not on our side, but Frank, you can respond to how you mentioned.
I think Richard has mentioned most of the things that I was going to talk about, especially on issues of absenteeism and wellness. You know, where I work, we also measure employee wellness. And if we are running an organization where employees don't believe that there is organization health, or rather there is wellness among employees, then it points you that it shows you that something is wrong. So you remember in my presentation, I had mentioned that it's not only about the hands, you know, it's not only about the results, which is also key, by the way, because if there is no result, it means that employees are not engaged. But you also want to see that even as they do this, you know, is their wellness checked? So those are some of the things that where I work, we also measure during our yearly engagement survey to ensure that they are engaged and they are doing well. Thank you.
All right. Frank and Tibet, we always joke about the joy of 6, and you and I have come from a long time. So when this team goes back to work tomorrow, what are some of the things that they can take back and say, look, if my people managers are doing these things, then I can tell them they are successful and they're on the route to building high engagement. You have 1 or 2 points you want to share from the joy of 6, for example?
I will go first, and I will just, because I had the pleasure of taking a lot of time in the initial presentation, I will just say one thing, that let us hold the line managers accountable for engagement. If they are not going to be involved in HR functions, you know, if we are not going to build their capacity to be able to lead, to be owners of HR functions, then definitely the employees will not be engaged. So we must hold accountable our managers to work in partnership with the HR function in order to have an engaged workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Geoffrey. For me, 2 things is for the managers to be intentional in terms of engagement, and also be proactive. Don't wait to start seeing the indexes, seeing the team members are getting sick, the sick offs are going up. Don't wait for that. Let's be intentional and proactive. Another one is make sure that your leaders follow through on their promises. And for us to be able to do this, I always prefer doing this 360-degree feedback or peer reviews. Then you're able to keep yourself in check. That is what I've learned over the years, and it keeps me in check, because sometimes we take some things for granted. So when you do a 360 and your team is also honest to give you the feedback, then you're able to keep your teams engaged. Thank you, Geoffrey.
Jeff, can I say something on social intelligence? Because it seems to have been something that was important to the person who asked that question.
Yeah, go ahead and ask that question.
Yes, and social intelligence is simply what we normally call social currency, the currency you know out of knowing people. We normally say that the network you have will predict and determine how high you go in terms of so many dimensions of life. For example, what Geoffrey, you did in the group hub, you mentioned several names. You know, that is social intelligence, that you know Nelson. If I call Nelson, if I call Richard, I am sure some people who are followers, who are influenced by these 2 people will come in. That is social intelligence. If you know people's names, if you know people's birthdays, if you know people's families, if you know people's education, if you know somebody at a personal level that you are friends, that is social intelligence. That is street smart. You know how to deal with somebody. You know somebody's dislikes, you know somebody's preferences, you know what they're able to do, you relate very well as friends. That is social intelligence. And for you to influence people using social intelligence, you must be able to understand the psychology of the people you are with. What annoys them? What do they like? What food do they like? What hotels do they like? What alcohol do they like? What food? What car do they drive? I'm not saying you start gossiping, but you have a mastery of the people you work with. You know what really influences. For example, there's a video I normally see about a lady who wanted to buy the husband a car, and I don't know how it goes. Like the person who was selling was able to research on what are the likes of the husband. He knew that the husband loves football, not football. What is that game for the rich people? What game is that? Golf. And also they love charity, you know. When you know, if it is Brennan, I've seen that he loves metrics. Next time I'll be able to challenge him to talk about metrics. That is social intelligence. I know Nelson, tomorrow we are celebrating him about his app. I know he loves analytics. If I mention that, that is social intelligence. And I can be able to manage. That is what we call social intelligence.
Thank you, Richard. And in the spirit of social intelligence, I know my friend Brenda is in the chat. Brenda, one thing that you're taking.
Sorry, Geoffrey.
Yes, Jebet, go ahead.
As we wait for Brenda, Anne had also asked about what would Thrive look like in an organization, and some of the key aspects one should be looking out for. For me is allowing my team to be able to switch off. You know, when I leave work, I can be able to switch off and go Thrive. If I'm taking the weekend off, allow me to take that time off, not just with calls and all. Also, mind, body, and soul. So if you look at all those aspects, then your team will be able to thrive. Either have something spiritual for them, allow them to go to church on a Sunday. If you're working shifts. Oh,
there are also forward-looking organizations.
So there are quite a bit of aspects, and it's a very wide topic, Thrive.
All right. Thank you for that.
Geoffrey, just to mention that many organizations, in as much as we are saying it's something for the future, many organizations are already embracing this, and it's something that organizations will have to try and restructure them. They need to see how to embrace it, because many organizations are doing it, and employees are tending to want to work with those organizations. So it's not far-fetched. It's not something that is in the future as such, but it's something that is already happening. Thank you.
Right. Time fails us, friends, and we have to bring it to a close. Brenda, do you want to say your one takeaway home before we close? All right. Brenda seems to.
Geoffrey, I didn't get you.
All right. One thing that you're taking from this presentation to our good place, I know what you are currently doing. So what are you taking up to work?
Well, everything was great. One thing I'm taking is the thriving. I'm going to look into it.
Okay, wonderful. And we'll share this presentation, and I'll be dropping the numbers for Frank and Jebet so that you can reach them and clarify all the issues that they have spoken, and you want to take that conversation further. We want to thank you for having time for us today. Let's keep the engagement conversation going on. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.